a heartbeat away from that donation stopping, or a decision away, or all right, that was seed funding. Now you're done. We don't want to stop saving people's lives. We don't want to stop transforming entire communities. When the donor put the commission onto us to, hey, make it truly circular, I took that. He didn't say self-generating and self-funding, but I think that perpetual generation is really the essence of having a circular economy.
The following interview with Richard Swisher, a co-founder of Motiv, was recorded at block height 810,272 when the Bitcoin price was about $33,000 in Lima, Peru. The conversation formed part of my research into the many Bitcoin circular economies that are growing around Peru. I was lucky enough to visit some of those circular economies, and you can check those videos out on my channel. I am sharing this interview to preserve it for posterity and of course to highlight the amazing work that Richard, Valley and their team have been doing and continue to do to empower communities across Peru through Motiv, the NGO that Richard and Valley founded. Thank you so much, and I hope you like it. Why did you start Motiv Peru?
So the reason I started Motiv was Valley and I had come together to build a playground in this little village. That was it. I think it was a seemingly simple task, but it had big problems in the way. And one of the problems was Valley is super altitude sick, and he couldn't really work on the playground. Benefit to that, which is kind of Motiv's theme, curses bring benefits, is that he could see the interaction of the children on the plastic parts of the slides that we put out of the way while we build the structure. And he noticed a little boy that was walking strangely. He couldn't walk properly, and that none of the other kids, it's a remote village of about 100 youth. They've grown up together. They're probably all related, and none of them interact with this one boy. It's just like they don't see him there. And he knows better than to interact directly with them. And he's just watching them. He's just observing what other humans his size are doing. And Valley said, hey, you mind if I go look at this? And sure. So he comes back a while later and he's like, all right, I found out the problem with this kid. His mother died in childbirth. His father is a raging alcoholic. He's living in a small mud huddle just outside of the village. Inside, he showed me pictures. Inside, it's like this little mud bubble, and he's got a little fireplace sort of thing set up, and grass, like alfalfa grass sort of thing all over the floor, and guinea pigs. And he said the father's non-existent, the mother's dead. And this boy, he raises these guinea pigs. There is food, there is friends, there is toys. And he takes care of himself. And that made no sense in just the dynamics of a village. It made no sense. This village was kind of Christian organized. It doesn't make sense in that faith. It just doesn't make sense that people would ignore and outcast a child. He was like 5 years old. He looked like he was younger. So I said, take more time and go figure out what's going on here. And after a lot of discussion, investigation, what Valley discovered from the village president, he was ashamed of saying it, but he said, hey, we lose 5% of our kids every year to exposure to cold, just trying to get to school, trying to tend to the livestock and the crops. We were sure this child wasn't going to make it, and so nobody really wanted to get close to him. So he would see other kids in this little village walking into the school, and he would walk in there. They all had seats, and he didn't. The teachers wouldn't acknowledge his presence. The students wouldn't acknowledge his presence. He was like a ghost walking around in the village. So Valley did what he could to set up like some moms that take care of their own kids of that age to make sure, hey, when you feed your kids, feed this one. When you clothe your kids, clothe these. We will send resources to do that. And on the way out of there, we were coming down to Lima to build a playground, and I was just on a trip doing that. And I was like, this is easy to solve, this shoe problem that they have, where they're dying from this. Athletic hiking boots, 7 pairs of socks, and some foot hygiene education, and some visits to check. And so as I was leaving Peru, I told Valley, hey, see what it would cost to do that, and let me see what I can do about starting it up and funding it out of Southern California. And so we raised funding first year and put that out, and Valley executed. All the kids got these athletic hiking boots, 7 pairs of socks, 2 visits by a podologist. No kids died that next year. Then we realized, I was going back for funding. That was in 2019, summer of 2019. Winter here, summer for us in the Northern Hemisphere. The next year there was no money around. It was COVID summer of 2020, and a longtime family friend of mine had a really close friend that would donate Bitcoin to a good cause that would help people, and he asked that you tried to turn the transaction circular. And so communicated with him, and I am not an economist. I don't know how to do that. Valley isn't either. And he said, and what he gave us was 4 times what we were asking for. And he said, just see what you can do. Just try. So we did. And
so that was a big donation.
The first big donation was in summer of 2019. It was in fiat. Yeah, so that's the first Bitcoin donation was summer of 2020. So
it was 1 year of fiat, and then this donor comes in.
And the first donation, it was $2,500. Okay. That saved 5 children statistically, and very realistically. You don't shun a child like that in your own village, your own kind of flesh and blood, unless that's just a real deal they can't get over. Well, then what we found out was, I thought, all right, we'll go to Big Lots, and I'll buy a bunch of stuff, I'll ship it down, and that's not circular at all. So we went to a local shoe manufacturer and got them to accept Bitcoin. And we did, the next year, we did that in Bitcoin, and the donor had given us 4 times the amount. So we did 4 villages instead of 1.
You had to show some proof of work?
Oh, that happened over, no, he gave it in faith and said, try. Right. He gave it and said, just see what you can do. And I was really clear that I don't know that we can do this. And buying the shoes in Bitcoin from a manufacturer, also not circular. That's just making a transaction. Yeah. And that we advised that guy, you really should hold on to this Bitcoin, hold on to a lot. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to hold like 75% or something. I'll only cash out a little bit. And later on, he came back to Valley and said, why didn't you put a gun to my head and make me save all of it? Because he only saved like 10% of it in Bitcoin. But that's the reason we started Motiv, and the reason we named it Motiv is motive is causing mechanical action to happen. The other definition of motive is the reason you do something. And those 2 things resonate with us. We want to make things happen, not just talk about things happening and preach. And, use Bitcoin, this is that, and sit there and stack sats and not really do anything. And we want to have other people, want to fire other people up to actually get involved. Get out there, be the hands and feet that make things happen, and for a reason. And our reason in Motiv is not to be Bitcoin maximalists and to make Bitcoin the money. That's not the reason for Motiv. The reason for Motiv is to eliminate the problem, like in these villages, of every time you have a dependency, and we all have them, you have a number of vulnerabilities that come with that. We all are dependent upon governments keeping peace to the best that they do. Fire department for being there to put out a fire in your house, a hospital to go to, knowing where a doctor is. Those are dependencies, but it doesn't give you a ton of vulnerability. The people that we serve, their dependencies are so high, it comes down to survival. And they are dependent on others so that they can feed their kids, so that they can feed themselves. The purpose for Motiv is to bring those dependencies down, to drop those vulnerabilities, so these people can be open to thinking about wise way to do things, smart way to do things. How may I build my life? How may I teach my child so that they can climb? And so many of us in the first world are so blessed to be born into structures and be born into families where those lessons are just, they're a given that you're going to get them. They're not a given around the world. And that's what Motiv exists to do, is to decrease dependencies by creating the ability on their own to be self-sufficient.
In an ideal world, would you have started with Bitcoin sooner?
Hindsight, Yeah, we would have done all of it sooner. We would have discovered the problem sooner and everything else. With fiat,
If you had done all of this with fiat money instead, would you have had the same results?
no. On the what happened, we would not have the same results if we went to go back to the second year and do this village in fiat. It would have stayed being the way it was the year before. We would have saved lives. We would have got donation, saved lives. End of story. We were very fortunate to start taking orange pills ourselves because we had this willing donor with great resources. That what the donor communicated to me was create circular transactions where the Bitcoin, the Satoshis stay in that area. And I just am somebody who takes things very literally, and that was it. The commission that he put on me was create Bitcoin circular economies. Now, from the time we got that first Bitcoin donation to where we had the system, a mature enough planned system to create a circular economy, was probably between 18 months and, about 18 months to 2 years, right around there. And it was trial and error and fail and learn and trial and error and fail and learn. Thankfully, I'd just gone through UCLA's project management course, and it had agile project management and iterative improvement stuff that we applied to it. And then we were also challenged with a massive challenge of being geographically dispersed. We have deployment here in Latin America, in Latin American culture with non-business people. And you had development and planning and design in the US with really seasoned business people. And that in itself provided such a challenge. And I think that if you didn't have the optimism that comes along with what Bitcoin can do as a currency and a financial system, it would have really been viewed like many other charities. And I hate that word. Charities to me are those that give, and I think that's damaging rather than provide opportunity for others to do. But if we didn't have that optimism that comes along with, no, these people, these unbanked people can actually earn their way up, because they couldn't have done that on fiat. They can't bank. They can't save. They will lose it, or it will be stolen. They don't have that value. So learning what currency is, and it takes them very long. It's easy to take us and see, hey, this is what you understand and this is broken. They don't have the basic, this is what you understand. So, and these people learn by doing. They're typically don't have formal education. They learn by doing and seeing. So you have to get them to the point where they are financially self-sustaining, and they understand how they're doing that and how they could repeat it if it was halted tomorrow. Then you can talk to them about, all right, let me explain the difference of when you were on fiat and you were unable to bank fairly or at all, and now when you're on Bitcoin. And it gives them ownership of that Bitcoin circular economy. And the first little businesses that are able to flourish and do well, we have a program of ease that we go through. First, we evaluate a village, we evaluate an individual, and then we educate them, and we equip them, and then we empower them. And that empowerment is changing their mind to, no, it is better to be self-sufficient. It's better to have independence. It's better to be able to build my way up rather than have people have to give me things. And the last E is to elevate. Elevate all of those around you, because if you don't and you slip and fall, they're going to be there to kick you. If you do and you slip and fall, they're going to realize, like you have shown them and they have learned, that, oh, I need to help these people around me up. And that being able to do that, they're able to take ownership of generating and furthering that Bitcoin circular economy, because it benefits them, their business, their families, their neighbors. It completes that circle for them where fiat does not.
So did this project thoroughly introduce you to Bitcoin, then orange pill you?
Yeah, no, this was an orange pilling process for me. I had early on, and like many, I kicked myself. Early on, I saw the value in cryptography because of my background, having used it, never been a cryptographer, but having used cryptography for different roles that I had. And I thought, wow, that's incredible. I understood the value of eliminating the double spend and things like that, but that was it. And when this came along, I'd never paid attention to finance or economics very much, other than just from a political sense. And when I saw this, but I'm also very staunchly freedom oriented, libertarian minded, and then when I was orange pilled with this, I couldn't get enough, and I actually went and did a MIT executive course to understand broader and deeper and wider what this is about.
And the Christianity element overlapped. I know we've talked about Jesus in the temples throwing over the money sellers, and there's that the money sellers' tables, and there's that Leviticus quote about the one about measures. I'll look it up now.
Yeah, because you mentioned that before, and I don't know that.
I've got it. I'll look it up. But does that influence what you do here? Does that influence your understanding of Bitcoin as well? Like, how important is Christianity to these Bitcoin circular economies? And I guess also, how important is it to the donor too? I guess the donor is a Christian.
I don't believe so.
Oh, right.
I don't know. We've not gone over that. The impression that I've got before and what I've talked about, I don't believe the donor is Christian. He may be. It's just not. That's not been something, like, he's not going out and funding Christian movements and not others. So I don't know where he stands on that.
Do you subscribe to the Christian saying, "You shall have just balances, just weights, etc." from the Old Testament?
Well, even though it's Old Testament, I think it applies. That I'd be dishonest if I said that quote that I didn't know weighed in on me. But what weighs in on me when it comes to Bitcoin and my faith is, if you are worried about your kids eating week after week after week, are you really going to be able to spend the time to investigate, is God real? Is Christ real? Are you just going to be trying to get your kids fed, trying to get yourself fed? It's a roadblock to so many things, including faith. And that's drop those dependencies, make them self-sufficient, give them the opportunity to explore and choose those kind of things themselves. That, I believe, is Christianity, not forcing or tricking or coercing any religion onto anybody. And if you pull those things out of the way, then that individual, they can look and see for themselves when they're not beholden to anyone else, not beholden to, okay, this church and this denomination is taking care of me, or this just non-denominational thing is taking care of me, so I feel obliged. Even if that church is nothing but fantastic, if you got there because you felt obliged, where's your faith? Your faith is in getting food. And so being able to stand on your own financially, take care of your kids, and really look at things, to me, that's where you can explore faith and really choose to believe and put your belief in there, or go a different direction. The other thing that really weighs on me is the absolute scam and game that the fiat system is. I never thought that that Wall Street was fair and equitable. I never thought the government was fair about these kind of things. But for it to be such an obvious game and method for the central bank and the major industries and the government to pull money away from those that are putting in the work, those that are being the hands and feet that make America great, or whatever, Peru great, to pull that away in that kind of a game is radically unfair. And it made me think of the only time I'm aware of in the Bible where Jesus, if you would say, lost his temper, but became physically violent on things, was when he saw people in a sacred place ripping off the honest believers that were coming there to worship and all. And that sounds a whole lot to me like the American, and I'm just not talking about blue collar, white collar, blue collar, everybody, honestly going in and believing what the government is saying about this happening, that happening, and the financial system, and we're trying to fight inflation. And when I read the Bitcoin standard, and really started to get a better understanding, and then started looking into what kind of a Ponzi scheme, and really being able to put two and two together on why they are running a Ponzi scheme on us, it really angered me. I'm somebody who raised my hand to lay down my life. I went to war as a U.S. military member. I went out on the streets of LA as an LAPD officer. I was willing to lay down my life for others. And those that I work for are playing that kind of game, not only on me, but all those I was sworn to protect and would lay down my life to protect. That's really angering. I've done personal security for presidents and senators and even foreign dignitaries. And as one of those who would jump in front to take a bullet, and that's how they're going to treat me and my future and my family's legacy, yeah, they are, I think with democratized media and more people being able to see through this farce, those individuals are playing a dangerous game with the wrong people now.
If Bitcoin funding stops, will Motiv stop?
No. If Bitcoin funding stops at this point, Motiv will have to stop. The only funding we have is Bitcoin. But no, let's say, and it's something that Valley and I have talked about. If Motiv stops today, we've built a legacy. Not only have we literally saved a number of lives, kept people into school, got medical aid delivered, taught and shown better nutrition and ways to achieve it on their own, and establish food security. There's a legacy of that that's going to continue on even if all stop happens.
What is that legacy?
That legacy is the know-how to be able to earn their own money. That legacy is people in these communities going, hey, you cannot be dependent upon governments or charities or churches or handouts. You have got to be able to seek out ways to stand on your own. And that's not going to stop in those places. It will curtail massively. Not everyone has gotten to the point where they understand it. And there will be a few in that community, I know, that will continue on trying to lift others, but not everybody will. If it switched, if Bitcoin stopped and we were able to keep getting fiat donations or shitcoin donations, we'll take them and we will buy Bitcoin with it. We'll immediately transition them over to Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is just the only system I would ever tell these people is safe to use. Any of the altcoins, you can have the rug pulled out from under you. They're not decentralized. They're owned by companies, by individuals, or by governments, and all of that can be changed. Bitcoin can't. And the fiat system, I would say, would be the next safest, but it's really just about the exact same thing, and it's going digital and turning itself into, an altcoin anyway. So,
is there a risk to using Blink Wallet, and within that, Blink Wallet's stable sats stablecoin solution almost exclusively within circular economies? How do you guys approach this risk internally?
Valley thinks about it operationally, and I think about it more in the big picture plan. Valley moves things over on Blink into stablecoins, and he talks to them, hey, this day of the week, yeah, better move that over there. You need to pay your bills at the end of the month. So Blink could be any Lightning wallet. Yeah, you can have that rug pull. But for most of these people, and I have a lot of well-meaning Bitcoiners like, hey, but wait a minute, not your keys, not your coins, get on that. I do understand that. We are getting toward that. When their wallet is full, it's like $20.
Yeah, personally, I never saw more than, say, $30 on someone's wallet at any time.
And that's all they have. That's everything. That's their big stack. And so the way that the comprehensive centers are designed, they are a Bitcoin circular economy generator or radiator. So donation at this point is coming in, and it covers scholarships. Those scholarships pay for basic necessities for that, usually mom's needs, as well as the kids' education, as well as the mom's education, electricity, water, some nutrition, and those moms then starting these businesses and earning. So even that scholarship money is going to support little local startup businesses that are operating on Bitcoin. And then when that mom rolls out, now she's that next layer of radiation or generation where she has that business and she is earning in Bitcoin from these. So she's extending it further, and it just keeps going out that way. Once, like we have the shoemaker who he gets larger sums in. He has things going more. He is someone that will get to where, okay, now I need to, and and really get to where he can understand Bitcoin. Him and a few others are closer to that, but they cannot comprehend what our Twitter followers want us to teach them today. It's just, and I'm not looking down my nose at it. You've been out there. It's just a reality. It's a long process. It's not, hey, I took that orange pill and I go. No, it's like orange pill therapy, and it lasts, probably several years before they're like, oh yeah, all right, my Lightning wallet, I do this, and then I have my cold wallet over here, or even my vault, and we've just not been around long enough, and these people haven't earned enough and raised enough to where it operates that way. But we are fully aware of that. They will absolutely go on board with that. You saw there's a store in Cusco that started accepting Bitcoin. They're going to be accepting in Lightning right away. He's financially stable enough. He is somebody that has savings. He does have banking and all. That's one where immediately you're able to teach that. That's the minority of who we serve and operate with, but we will get them.
How can people donate to Motiv as a tax write-off?
Right. So Motiv was formed as a nonprofit corporation in the U.S., designated by the IRS as a 501c3. So it's a great way for companies or individuals that are U.S. taxpayers to donate to Motiv and be able to write that off on their taxes. And there's some fantastic ways where really everything they give, they lose nothing. They either give it to us or they give it to the government. And so speak to your own CPA about your personal situation. I'm not a tax lawyer or CPA to give that kind of advice. There's huge advantages to doing that. And even when it comes to now a lot of taxing of digital assets, you can give to the cause that helps protect your stack. If you believe that we are that, and or any other 501c3, but that's why.
What kind of collaboration is there between you guys and other circular economies?
So I know that Bitcoin Beach, Mike Peterson, and Motiv share the same donor, and Mike has been helpful to us from early on. When we started having success, the donor was like, "Hey, get a hold of this guy. This is really good." And Mike's been a great help. We've certainly had tons of ups and downs with it, and we're a different type of organization. But one of the things that was really inspirational to us on what Mike was doing was he was getting kids back into school, and he was doing education. And when we were trying to figure out how in the world do we create a circular economy, that was the key to saying, it's educationally based, bringing that value, but also they're scholarshiping. So they are earning money by learning. And if they fall out of the class or whatnot, they'll lose their scholarship. So that was really key. And then since then, Herman at Bitcoin Akasi and I, we haven't really traded notes a bunch, but there's a ton of mutual admiration. What he's doing there, what he's been doing there for so long, even before Bitcoin, and now he's improving it with Bitcoin. Same thing with Mike Peterson in Bitcoin Beach. What he was doing before then was amazing stuff. And then with Bitcoin, with that project, it really elevated that. And then now they're adopting Bitcoin that Blink has put together, has a few times now put together a forum where a lot of the groups that are trying to start these in their various ways get together, share ideas, help each other out. I've not run into one that was not helpful. Sometimes I don't have help for them and they don't have help for me, but all willing all the time. And yeah, I think that's a great piece going forward.
Is it collaboration and adoration over competition? Sorry, admiration?
Yeah, admiration, I would say, more than adoration. But maybe we adore them and they adore us too. But yeah, I think that I don't know of any that are competitive. Outside of, I believe competition is healthy. I believe it's important. But I believe in great sportsmanship when it comes to something like this, because at the end of the day, I don't know any of these that are trying to do a Bitcoin circular economy because it'll make them wealthier. It's always the opposite. They are pouring themselves into others. So to say, all right, well, I want to do better than Mike, and Herman wants to do better than me, and I want to, as long as it's helpful, as long as we're collaborative and it's good sportsmanship. I race motocross and I go out and ride with my buddies. I want to ride with guys that are a little faster than me so I can catch up, so I can get faster. So if it's that kind of thing, but really it's early in that, and it hasn't even got to the point where that could form or not form. It's helpful. We have a binding force. Adopting Bitcoin is kind of a binding force for all of these. I see a wide variety of plans. Most of them are around tourism. Hey, come here and do this great thing. And that's where we don't get to learn a lot from them, because our areas you've seen are not places you want to go, except for like Cusco. But where we turn our economy circular, they might not have thought of, because they had this shiny thing of like, hey, here's a great surf place to come to. And then we can come in and they go, oh, shoot, we can then employ some of what Motiv's doing in these places, because it'll work great there too. And what Motiv has looked at is like, all right, we have one of the 7 wonders of the world, and you guys traveled there on Bitcoin. Yeah, we picked up that idea from Bitcoin Akasi, Bitcoin Beach, and those that are saying, hey, come to this great thing. We got a great thing too. We got surf waves. It's in the plans. So it's really looking around. You could look at it as competition, market competition, copying somebody that's doing something great, and we'll copy them. Whenever they want to copy us, they can copy us. So I've never run into anyone that wasn't looking at it holistically, collaboratively, and helpfully.
Will these economies work out and become truly circular at some point?
I hope so, and absolutely, because donation can only last so long. We have a very generous donor, but we're a heartbeat away from that donation stopping, or a decision away, or, all right, that was seed funding. Now you're done. We don't want to stop saving people's lives. We don't want to stop transforming entire communities. So I don't know of any other community that's looking to monetize their business model the way that we are. But when the donor put the commission onto us to, hey, make it truly circular, I took that. He didn't say self-generating and self-funding, but I think that perpetual generation is really the essence of having a circular economy. So the other places now, they can have that by really monetizing by, hey, come and surf here, and making that community better and better and better. That could turn perpetual generation. Ours can't. So what we do is we build value into these families, into these communities. And we were lucky enough to find a great energy developer company that's doing a waste to energy landfill. We worked with them in getting the project approved so that we could be a landing place for their requirement to do social responsibility. As we kept talking to them, they said, we want you to then go into the communities that we're going to be working with, so that if there's any pushback on what we're doing, or any one party that's upset while 9 parties are happy, we can show the great work that we're doing for the people of that community, especially the super impoverished. And then we started talking about, you're an educational, Motiv's an educational company. Could you do the training and onboarding? And I don't see why we can't. And that's to me, that's the ultimate. All right, we have corporations that need us. What they need us to do is do the good that we are already doing, and that we are able to do that and generate Bitcoin circular economies to truly bring all this value. That's full circle. So that's how we've built our model, and we've been seeking to build it from the beginning. And it's really, we're in 2 parts. In the U.S., we have seasoned business professionals from the very top of various industries. And down in Peru, we have execution, we have deployment, and do an iteration. All right, this didn't work, that didn't work. And when I say deployment, it's not just order followers that roll. There's creativity that goes into that, and local understanding, and that knowledge, that local knowledge. And so we did create a paper that we need to go and update again, because things change as we learn. And so we have a full field guide for if right now the Philippines, there's a waste to energy project that may be going on there. If they say, hey, we want you to scale and go to there, yeah, we have the plan to scale and go to there. Right now, it would still require me to do a lot of the development. It would require Valley to go over and search for leaders the way that he knows how to search for leaders. And then it would be back into the laboratory again, because the Philippines is not Peru. But the common threads that go through that are very common.
Can the project here be replicated around the world?
Absolutely. It's designed from the beginning to be scalable, replicable, and super adjustable. We follow agile methodologies because everywhere is going to need something different. We had some talks about potentially going into Jamaica. And wow, that would just, right off the bat, we're scratching our heads on, okay. And so we started looking at, all right, the flexibility, the common threads in this, boil it down to exactly what we do and don't do, and how those common threads can be adaptable to, some rural village in Alaska down to Jamaica.
How much money do you need for Motiv to sustain itself?
For this to sustain, you could go with one comprehensive center, and there'd be a differing value. But really, to sustain what we are doing, we're on an upward trajectory of development. And if you just keep these alive, that development stops and that rolls out. You'll still have the deployment, but you're not going to have the expertise that of the whole team that had development, design, and deployment working together. In order to do that up in the U.S. And then have the circular economies here, you need the scholarship funds for those circular economies there, which is tens of thousands of dollars a month now for the whole thing. An individual comprehensive center could be between, depending on where it is and the extent of it, between probably $3,000 a month up to $10,000 or $12,000 a month US. In the US, you need to be at business functions. You need to be at like the waste industry trade shows. You need to be at Bitcoin conferences. You need to be at various things like that. And you need people that can and have spoke to and created business deals with Fortune 100, Fortune 500 decision makers, C-suite types. That's hard to do. I've been doing it, and a few others have been doing it here in Motiv on pennies on the dollar, and we're in to make it happen because we see where it can go. But it is, what we've done has been beautifully seed funded by this donor. And in order to finish getting up that kind of that ramp to where we clear the gap of being dependent upon donation and being able to earn our own funds by monetizing that business model, we're one good deal away. If this landfill project in Peru happens, the funding that we've talked about in the memos of understanding was great. That would carry it for Peru entirely, and provide the business development design support in the U.S. If we have another place that somebody wants to go, yeah, we have the money and the metrics to go in there. If Peru is up and running and the headquarters team of development is sustained in the U.S., well, then that next place is going to be able to function less expensively because you already have the headquarters thing. So economy of scale is going to come into that and what it really takes. And I just hope we're able to clear that gap to where we are able to prove this model brings huge benefit, not only to companies, but to the people who need it the most.
At the current price of about 30K, maybe 25K per Bitcoin, how much do you need per month to fund the NGO and all these projects?
If right now at Bitcoin's price, if we were at 3 Bitcoin a month, we would be able to do it and roll forward.
What's your legacy?
My legacy falls back to my belief system that I was blessed to be born into the situation I was born into, to be offered the opportunities I was offered, to have been taught to have the kind of drive that I have because I'm to serve others. And when I really look at it and have worked around the globe and been a lot of different roles in a lot of different industries. I was so much more blessed than the rest of the world that believe that I'm designed to get out there and share that benefit, share those lessons, and help them pick themselves up. So their kids might be born into the great position I was born into. My legacy will be service to others. I have 3 sons, and that's what I impart upon them, and I hope that they impart upon that to my 2 grandsons now and beyond that, hey, you have one life to live and make the most of it. And the way you make the most of it, have fun while you're doing it. Don't get me wrong. I love going out and having a great time and in many different ways, but make sure that your purpose is being fulfilled. And my personal purpose is service to others.
That was Richard Swisher, the co-founder of Motiv. Please follow his work at motiv.ngo, and you can donate in Bitcoin if you so wish. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to check out Plan B Network for all things Bitcoin education and coincorner.com to get yourself some Bitcoin. I've been Joe Nakamoto. Thank you so much for watching. Do what you love and save in Bitcoin.